This is a quiet thief in the night that relentlessly robs from the patient the sense of identity, personality, and ultimately the very essence of self.
It's like having a sliver of your brain shaved every day. It took out family members. Now Alzheimer's has come for me. As a journalist, I put a stake in the ground and said, we're going to start to talk about it.
We need what you have and what you do, because I've never met or talked to anyone like you.
He's making it possible for people to look at this disease long enough to do something about it. Otherwise, people just look away.
I see myself as a window, not a martyr, because otherwise I don't want to do this.
This is a guy who makes everyone around him feel great, despite the fact he doesn't feel so great. And that cannot be easy. That's a level of emotional, and I would say even spiritual resilience that is really inspirational and a model for us all.
Well, most of us either know someone who has Alzheimer's or we have a family member living with the disease. We're joined today by Greg O'Brien, who is an award-winning journalist and author of the best-selling book on Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's, which inspired the documentary film Have You Heard About Greg? A journey through Alzheimer's with faith, hope, and humor. We are so pleased to welcome him to the show today, joining us from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Greg, welcome to you. It's so great to have you with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. So can you share a bit about your story when you were first diagnosed with Alzheimer's and what made you decide to write a book about it? And now, of course, it's been made into a documentary film.
Well, I think it's best to start in the beginning. Alzheimer's took my maternal grandfather, my mother, my father, and paternal uncle. And I became, we grew up as an Irish family outside Manhattan, where my parents were both raised, family of 10 in Rye, New York. But they ended up retiring on Cape Cod, and I became the family caregiver because I was living here and still living here. And I started, as I was doing that, I started noticing some symptoms in myself. I had 2 serious head traumas that doctors said unmask a disease in the making. And one was a bike accident without a helmet, and the other was a car crash when my head hit the windshield. And an accident or head trauma won't cause Alzheimer's or dementia, but if you're predisposed to have it, it brings it on. I had the brain scans, SPECT scans, clinical tests, and got the diagnosis. It wasn't a surprise. As a career, to answer your question, as a career journalist, knowing that there's such a stereotype to this disease, a taboo that's just not accurate, I decided to write a book from inside the mind of Alzheimer's, recording the progression of my own disease and background with my family. And it was made into the movie with the grace of a good friend of mine, LA filmmaker Steve Eccleston, and we have a team of others involved. Brad Ball, former executive with Time Warner, and Amy Brenner and Scott Kennedy, and a host of others. And they did an incredible job on it. The film opened in select theaters nationwide.
Okay, so Greg, this film, Have You Heard About Greg, is playing in, as you mentioned, it's in select theaters. It's across America, but not in Canada right now. So do you know when it might be available online?
Well, yeah, those on the marketing, and that's why we stay in touch with the website. The letters for haveyouheardaboutgreg.com, and it will give you all that information. It's going to be in the theaters, and they're talking to people about streaming and all of that.
Okay, fantastic. Can you maybe tell us what it's like to receive a diagnosis personally, and then also what the response tends to be from family, friends, and even coworkers?
Well, that's a good question. I had a front row seat when I was probably 8 years old to my grandfather's progression in Alzheimer's in Rye, New York, outside Manhattan. And my mom would take me and my 2 older sisters over to see my grandfather and grandmother, and she would sit in the room, and he was fading fast. He was an incredible developer and businessman in Manhattan, but taking him out. And one day, and we used to sit in the living room, dining room with my grandmother, while my mom talked to my grandfather. And one day I came over, and all the furniture was gone, and there was a hospital bed, and my grandfather was in the bed. And I think months later, he died, and I came back over, and the hospital bed was gone, all the furniture was back, like nothing had happened. And I remember thinking, life is never going to be the same.
Wow. Wow.
And so I've seen it firsthand, saw it with my parents, and saw it in me. And the first, say, um, everyone lives in denial, and there's a chapter in my book on Pluto, Mark Twain quote, "Denial ain't just a river in Egypt." And so you have to fight through the denial, but I would urge everyone to get a clinical test. I'm on the board of Us Against Alzheimer's, and Google that, and there's something called Brain Guide, and that will give people an understanding of how to move forward in this disease. And I would urge anyone to do it. What I'm trying to do is disabuse stereotypes of this 20 to 25-year course. The person who says, my mother was diagnosed and died 7 years later, their acceptance to everything, but what probably was the case is that mother suffered quietly for 10 or 15 years, and in fear. And what I'm trying to do is to bring people forward and realize their strength in numbers. You don't get Alzheimer's the day you're diagnosed. I have cancer too. You don't get cancer the day you're diagnosed. And so you asked the question before. As a journalist, I decided to write about it. When I got the diagnosis, I wrote down close to 2,000 overtime pages of notes and research from which I wrote up with the help and guidance of the New York Times encouragement, New York Times bestselling writers, Lisa Genova, who wrote Stella Alice, William Martin, Anne LeClaire, others, and they were just tremendous support for me. As I said before, you got lying down is a position of defeat. My favorite line, though, is Bugs Bunny, who was paraphrasing someone else who said, "Don't take life too seriously because nobody gets out alive."
Ooh,
So
that's so dark for Bugs Bunny.
I know.
Oh,
well, he was quite a wabbit.
He really was. Now, Greg, there seems to be a stigma around Alzheimer's, and you say that we need to have conversations with our loved ones about this disease. So what should that look like, and what issues should we be talking about openly?
I think that's important. I think you could go online, and I would encourage everyone and look at the symptoms of it. But and it's a 20 to 25-year journey. I could have another 10 years in this. But right now, at times, I'll get up for an interview like this, but I tell people that my brain is like my iPhone. It's still a sophisticated device. It has a short-term battery, and it gets lost very easily. And 60% of my short-term memory can be gone in 30 seconds. I don't recognize people I've known all my life. I deal with tremendous rage. I deal with a deep depression, and twice I flirted with taking my life. There's hallucinations. I mean, it's just look it up, but it isn't every day, and you never know when the demon is going to attack. The end stage is when it is at all times. I'm trying to reach out to people in early stages so they realize their strength in numbers. There are strategies, and they are. And the film is about my book, but now more importantly, the film is about those strategies of walking in faith, hope, and humor.
Wow.
What research waits for a cure?
Definitely. You're going to make me cry. My best friend's mother just died last week of Alzheimer's. And
I'm so sorry.
It's really, yeah, it's quite a disease. And I'm so sorry that that you have to go through that, and just what you're describing sounds just
Well,
horrific.
I'm not, I don't mean to proselytize here, but I have a strong faith. I'm the most imperfect Irish guy I could be, committed every sin a man can commit. Um, but I don't know how anyone gets through a journey like this without faith, hope, and humor. And I know some of us define faith in different ways. Mine is more traditional, but I don't know how you get through it without it. And then without the research, like I said, Us Against Alzheimer's, the Brain Guide. There's a lot of information out there. And Dr. Rudy Tanzi of Harvard Mass General Cure Alzheimer's Fund is in the film, and he has some incredible background on fighting it. George Vredenberg, who is the founder of Us Against Alzheimer's, is in the film, and he has a lot of strategies to pass along.
Wow, it sounds like an incredible film. Now, Greg, you're hoping for a cure. So are there any steps that viewers can take to maybe stop or delay the onset of Alzheimer's?
Well, that's where look up online, because I'm gonna forget things. Okay, that just happened. But it's important. Dr. Rudy Tanzi, Mass General, Harvard, and the letters SHIELD, and they stand for certain things that you can do. And if I were to tell you right now, I would so screw it up. Remember,
But it's,
that's my
yeah,
phone.
so the acronym
I-
is SHIELD.
Shield, yeah, and look it up, Google it, but Google it with Dr. Rudy Tanzi, Harvard Mass General, and then put Shield, and you'll come across.
Okay, great. Do you know if there's any clinical trials in progress at this point that may offer some hope?
Oh, they're offered all across the country. The best thing to do, and the pharmaceuticals are doing an incredible job, and they stepped up to help support the film, and God bless them. But they're clinical. All you do is just Google clinical trials Alzheimer's, and you'll find it. And you'll also find it on the website of Us Against Alzheimer's. And I believe the Cure Alzheimer's Fund as well. You're going to get excellent information.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Greg, you mentioned your faith. You've also mentioned humor helps. So what kinds of things do you do that you find that you can actually laugh about that makes things a bit easier to carry?
Well, you have to laugh at yourself. And there is a side of me in this disease, you lose filter. And I don't know if he's a big deal up in Canada, but Larry David, the producer down here, really funny. He says what's on his mind. He's a hero of mine. And so you have to be able to look at the funny things in life and laugh at it rather than say, I'm going to lie down. And so that's, you have to have, I was blessed with an Irish humor, and also blessed with what the doctors, you could look up Harvard Medical School, write about cognitive reserve, which my mother had, an extra fuel tank of IQ to get you through it, but it dissipates. And it's like, if you think of a boat, it's an extra fuel tank in the boat, but like all fuel tanks, it goes away.
So, Greg, when you find yourself lapsing into that place where your mind isn't functioning properly, what kinds of things can family or caregivers do that are helpful to you? And also on the flip side, what are things that are not helpful?
Well, I think it's a four-letter word, but don't get nervous. It may not be the word you're thinking of. It's called love, LOVE. And I think that's what people in this disease, people around them need to show love, and love can be felt in the heart, which I believe is the place of the soul. And it's touch. It's letting the person know that you love them. If they make a mistake, not overcorrecting them. A good example, and I've used this in speeches. If someone in Alzheimer's says, "What a beautiful red wall that is," and the color is blue, and someone keeps pointing that out to the person in Alzheimer's, and generally, unless the final stage, they obviously know that it's blue, not red, because you corrected them. And the more you correct them, the more they feel badly about it. and go inward. So does it matter if the wall is red or blue? It doesn't.
Right.
And I'm just using that as an example, but it's love, it's touch, simple touch, and that's what I would advise. It's understanding. It's we love you, we're here for you, and treat them like you would treat yourself. Don't treat them like in the old days, Father Damien and the Bells, the leper colony in Hollywood, not Hollywood, Hawaii, another H word, Hawaii. That don't treat them like an untouchable. You're not going to get Alzheimer's from touching someone. That's not going to happen.
Great advice there. Thank you so much for being with us today, Greg. It looks like we're out of time, but once again, thank you. Greg O'Brien is the author of On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's, and is featured in the new documentary film, Have You Heard About Greg? A Journey Through Alzheimer's with Faith, Hope, and Humor. So great to have you on today, Greg.
All right, God bless you. Thank you very much. I
You
appreciate
as
it.
well. I'm Jeanette Roche on behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News. Thanks for watching.